The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beep of the monitors. Then, my mother-in-law's voice cut through the silence like a knife. "I've listed your house for sale," she said, sounding pleased with herself. "That tiny place was never good enough for my son David." My name is Olivia Parker. I was 34, lying in a hospital bed recovering from emergency surgery, when my mother-in-law, Eleanor, decided to take control. I had been hospitalized for a ruptured appendix, and she saw this as the perfect chance to make her move. I kept my eyes closed, pretending to be drowsy while my mind raced. The house she wanted to sell wasn't just any house. It was my childhood home, the place where I grew up, where my late father taught me to paint, and where my mother spent her last days. Every part of that Victorian house held memories, but ever since David and I got married 3 years ago, Eleanor had been trying to erase them. "You should be thanking me," Eleanor continued, sitting down and resting her expensive purse on her lap. "I've already got interested buyers. My real estate friend, Jessica, has been so helpful. Finally, we can get David into a neighborhood that suits his status." I slowly opened my eyes and met her smug gaze. "Do what you need to do, Eleanor," I said calmly. She blinked, clearly surprised. She expected me to cry, beg, or protest. Instead, I seemed unfazed. What she didn't know was that I had been preparing for something like this for months. This wasn't her first attempt to control our lives. She had already tried redecorating our home without asking, throwing out family heirlooms she thought were ugly, and pushing us to move to a fancier neighborhood. "Good," she said, regaining her confidence. "Jessica will bring the paperwork tomorrow. We already have an offer. The buyers want to tear it down and build something modern." She scrolled through her phone, probably checking messages from her real estate agent friend. Eleanor loved using her connections, flaunting her status, and manipulating situations. But this time, she had gone too far. "Does David know about this?" I asked. She waved a hand dismissively. "Oh, I'll tell him once everything's settled. You know how he is, better to present it as a done deal." I did know. My husband had no patience for his mother's schemes. That's why she always worked behind his back. He was away at a medical conference, which was why she picked now to strike. "You're right," I said, adjusting my blanket. "It's better to keep things simple." Eleanor smiled, thinking she had won. She stood up, smoothing her expensive skirt. "I'm so glad you're being reasonable, Olivia. Jessica will bring the papers tomorrow. You just focus on getting better." As she left, I reached for my phone. First, I texted my best friend Anna, who was also a real estate lawyer. "It's happening. Time to move forward with the plan." Then I called Tom, my father's old friend and my actual real estate agent. "Hey Tom, remember what we talked about?" Eleanor just made her move. "I'm already on it," he said. "I have the paperwork ready. Want me to bring it to the hospital?" "Yes, and make sure it's airtight." After hanging up, I lay back, thinking about the house Eleanor wanted to sell, the porch where I spent summers with my parents, the art studio my father built, the garden my mother cared for. This house wasn't just a building, it was my history, my heart. Eleanor never understood why David and I chose to live there instead of buying something fancier. To her, it was all about status. But some things are more important than appearances, like love, memories, and family. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. It was Anna, walking in with her briefcase and a determined look. "I got your text." So Eleanor finally made her move. I nodded. She's bringing her real estate agent tomorrow. She thinks she can sell my house while I'm stuck in this bed. Anna opened her laptop. Good thing we spent months making sure she can't do that. Should we call David now or wait until her agent shows up? I thought for a moment. David needed to know, but timing was everything. "Let's wait," I said. "I want to see exactly what they tried to pull first." Anna grinned. "All right, let's go over everything one more time. Eleanor's agent is in for a big surprise." I smiled, imagining Eleanor's face when she realized she had lost. Sometimes the best way to beat a manipulator isn't to fight them, it's to be one step ahead. The plan was in place. Now, we just had to wait. The next morning, Eleanor stormed into my hospital room, dressed to perfection as always. Behind her was a polished woman in a business suit, Jessica, her real estate agent friend. Neither of them seemed concerned that they were trying to sell a house they had no right to sell. "Olivia, dear," Eleanor said sweetly, "this is Jessica Miller. She brought the paperwork for you to sign." We've already got a great offer, $50,000 over asking price. Isn't that wonderful? Jessica pulled out a folder, spreading papers across my hospital tray. Mrs. Parker, just sign here, and we can move forward with the sale. The buyers are very eager. A voice cleared from the doorway. Eleanor turned, her smile fading. Who are you? Tom Reynolds, the man said, stepping inside. I'm the licensed real estate agent for this property. He calmly set his own folder on the table, moving Jessica's paperwork aside. Eleanor's face turned red. Jessica is handling the sale. No, I said, keeping my voice steady. She isn't. Tom has been my real estate agent for 15 years. He handled the property transfer after my parents passed away. Jessica shifted uncomfortably. Mrs. Parker, your mother-in-law, assured me she had the authority to list the property. Did she show you any proof of that authority? Tom asked, his voice firm. Jessica didn't answer. Eleanor jumped in. I'm David's mother. This house isn't good enough for him, and as his mother, I have every right. You have no rights to this property at all, another voice interrupted. Anna walked in, briefcase in hand. I'm Anna Chen, Olivia's attorney. And Mrs. Miller, you are dangerously close to breaking several real estate laws. Jessica paled as Anna pulled out a stack of documents. This house belongs to a family trust created by Olivia's parents. Neither of you have any legal authority to sell it. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. David is my son, as her husband. David has no claim to it either, Anna said. The trust is ironclad. And here's something interesting. She handed Jessica a document. This is a complaint I've prepared for the Real Estate Commission about your attempt to sell property without legal authority. Jessica's face turned white. Mrs. Winston, she hissed, looking at Eleanor. You told me you had power of attorney. Eleanor clutched her purse. I was just trying to help David. Olivia is being selfish, clinging to this old house when they could live somewhere better. Tom's voice was firm. Mrs. Winston, I suggest you leave. If you try anything else, we'll take legal action. Jessica quickly gathered her papers. I apologize, Mrs. Parker. I should have verified the authority to sell. This won't happen again. She hurried out, avoiding my eyes. Eleanor stayed, her face tight with anger. Olivia, you're making a mistake. I only want what's best for David. No, I said quietly, you want what you think is best, but this isn't your decision. We'll see what David has to say, she snapped. Yes, a familiar voice said from the doorway. Let's see what I have to say. There stood my husband, conference badge still hanging around his neck. Eleanor froze. David, you're back early. I was just trying to help you and Olivia find a better home. By selling our house behind our backs while Olivia is in the hospital? David's voice was low but firm. Mom, we need to talk. Outside. Now. As Eleanor followed him out, I could see the shock on her face. She had finally gone too far, and she knew it. I exchanged glances with Anna and Tom, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. The house was safe. More importantly, Eleanor's days of interference were coming to an end. Through the window, I saw David speaking to his mother, his face serious. For the first time, Eleanor looked small, her confidence gone. Sometimes the best way to fight back isn't just being prepared. It's having the right people in your corner. The next few days brought significant changes. David moved my recovery to the sunroom of our Victorian home, the very room Eleanor had deemed outdated and depressing. Surrounded by my father's artwork and my mother's thriving plants, I felt stronger with each passing day. David had been uncharacteristically quiet about his conversation with Eleanor, but its impact was evident. She hadn't called or visited since the hospital incident, and through family gossip, I learned she retreated to her country club, nursing her wounded pride. I told her she needs therapy, David finally shared one evening as we sat on our wraparound porch. I made it clear that if she wants to be part of our lives, she has to respect our boundaries. No more manipulation, no more trying to control everything. I squeezed his hand, watching the sunset paint our garden in golden hues. How did she take it? Not well initially, he admitted. But I think seeing me stand up to her, plus the legal trouble she almost caused her friend Jessica, it finally got through to her that she can't always have her way. Jessica, as we learned, had faced her own consequences. The attempted unauthorized sale had been reported to the Real Estate Commission, resulting in a formal reprimand and mandatory ethics training. Eleanor's influence had nearly cost her friend her license. A week later, something unexpected arrived. A letter from Eleanor. I recognized her elaborate handwriting on the envelope, but the tone of the letter inside was different from anything she'd written before. "Dear Olivia," it began, "I owe you an apology. My behavior was inexcusable. I've spent so many years believing I knew best that I forgot to see what was already perfect right in front of me. Your home isn't just a house, it's a testament to love and family history, something I should have respected." She went on to explain that she'd started seeing a therapist, trying to understand why she felt such a need to control everything. "David's happiness should have been enough," she wrote. "Instead, I almost destroyed my relationship with my son because I couldn't see past my own expectations." The letter ended with a request, not a demand, to help restore the garden my mother had loved so much. "If you're willing," she wrote, "I'd like to learn about the memories this place holds. Maybe then I can understand why it means so much to both of you." David found me crying over the letter in the kitchen. "Mom told me she was writing to you," he said softly. "She's trying, Olivia. For the first time in her life, she's really trying." 2 weeks later, Eleanor came to visit. Gone were the designer suits and critical comments. Instead, she arrived in gardening clothes, ready to help replant my mother's favorite roses. As we worked together in the dirt, she asked about my parents, genuinely listening as I shared stories about growing up in this house. "I get it now," she said quietly, patting soil around a new rose bush. "This isn't about the house itself. It's about keeping their love alive." Looking at her there, hands dirty, hair slightly messy, I saw a different Eleanor emerging, one who was learning that control and love don't go hand in hand. That evening, as David, Eleanor, and I sat on the porch enjoying lemonade, she looked around with new eyes. "This place has character," she admitted. "And more importantly, it has heart. I'm sorry I couldn't see that before." David squeezed my hand, and I felt the last tension between us dissolve. Sometimes the biggest victories come not from winning battles, but from helping others see what truly matters. Today, Eleanor visits regularly, but always calls first. She's learning to appreciate our home for what it is, a place filled with love, memories, and now, new beginnings. The roses she helped plant are blooming, adding their beauty to my mother's garden. And every time I see them, I'm reminded that change is possible, even in the most unlikely places. The Victorian house stands proud, unchanged by Eleanor's schemes, but transformed by her growth. It remains what it has always been, not just a house, but a home where love grows and memories live on. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's watching someone learn to see the beauty in what they once tried to destroy.